Give it a second. All right. Hey, YouTube. It is your friendly neighborhood dungeon master here, Zach Hall, continuing my video series. I think I'm good. Okay. If not, I'm just going to start over, and I'll cut this part out. If you're here for it, you know about it. Hey, YouTube. Welcome back. It's your friendly neighborhood dungeon master here, Zach Hall, continuing my video series of a D&D 5th edition Dungeon Master learns Pathfinder 2nd edition. Doing blind look through the core rulebook for Pathfinder 2nd edition. You can check all the previous videos for the classes in the first 2 chapters of the rulebook. Today we are going to be looking at the Rogue. I usually start by talking about my expectations, but honestly I don't have a ton of expectations for the Rogue other than I think I kind of know what to expect. I'm interested to see what sneak attack looks like, since that seems to be the key, and obviously is the key feature. But I expect a good amount of skills. I expect being able to either spec into a scout type role, into a assassinate, like high DPS, but maybe you don't have as many skills or as many different things that you can do. You can just do one thing and one thing well, which is just bang, like one hit. Also expect maybe to see a class that is more featured around social encounters. So high deception, creating costumes and masks and disguises and that kind of thing. Subterfuge. So let's go ahead and look at it. The Rogue. Let's look at this top sheet. Rogue, you are skilled and opportunistic. Using your sharp wits and quick reactions, you take advantage of your opponent's missteps and strike where it hurts most. You play a dangerous game, seeking thrills and testing your skills, and likely don't care much for any laws that happen to get in your way. While the path of every rogue is unique and riddled with danger, the one thing you all share in common is the breadth and depth of your skills. Skills being kind of a talking point here, so maybe like a lot of, oh wow, I just quickly kind of glanced down. Let's talk about it, folks. Skills in the sidebar. You were trained in stealth. You're trained in 1 determined by your rogue's racket, which is an awesome name for this class's subclass. And then you were trained in an additional 7 skills plus your intelligence modifier. Whew, that's a lot of skills, folks. I kind of mentioned it in my prelude. That's a ton of skills. You are starting out with at least 9 trained skills. Wow. Okay. Let's continue. We got dexterity. Or there's an option from Rogue's Racket. So maybe this could be a charisma. There might be a charisma focused racket for things like deception and stuff like that. 8 hit points per level, which is fine. But expected. Rogues aren't supposed to be... They're supposed to be lots of damage, easy to kill kind of folks. During combat encounters, you move about stealthily, so you can catch foes unawares. Your precision instrument, more useful against a tough boss or distant spellcaster than against rank-and-file soldiers. During social encounters, your skills give you multiple tools to influence your opposition. Pulling cons and ferreting out information are second nature to you. So cool. That's just base in the class. That's not going to be, while I'm sure there is a racket that is focused on this con artist type, that is going to be any rogue, which is cool. While exploring, you sneak to get the drop on foes and scout for danger or traps. You're a great asset since you can disable traps, solve puzzles, and anticipate dangers. Cool. To be expected. Downtime, you might pickpocket, trade in illegal goods. You might also become part of a thieves guild or even found one of your own. You might hone your skills through intense practice, both on your own and out in the world. Know where to attain illicit goods Excuse me. Skirt or break the law because you think it's meaningless or have your own code. So you are chaotic. Makes sense. Not a lot of lawful rogues, kind of defeats the purpose. While others probably find you charming or fascinating, even if they think they know better than to trust you, come to you when they need someone who is willing to take risks or use questionable methods. Suspect you're motivated primarily by greed, and again, they might not be wrong. So we'll just quickly run through this sidebar since we already looked at skills. Expert in perception, expert in reflex and will saving throws, stealth, 1 by your rogue's racket, and 7 other skills. You're trained in simple weapons, and then you are trained in the rapier, sap, short bow, and short sword. So we saw in the cover here that the classic road is dual wielding a rapier and dagger. Light armor, class DC. Rogue's racket. You develop your own style to pursue your illicit activities, shapes your rogue techniques and the way you approach a job while building your reputation in the criminal world. All right, so we have a ruffian, a scoundrel, and a thief. So ruffian is you prefer to strong arm or intimidate others. You might be an enforcer, a highway bandit, or a noble who bullies others with threats of your family's power. Or you might use your skills on the up and up in a private security detail or as a guard in the city with the right temperament. Oh, okay, that's cool. You use whatever tools you have at hand. You can deal sneak attack damage with any simple weapon, in addition to the weapons listed in the sneak attack class feature, which I guess we'll see on the next page. When you critically succeed in an attack roll using a simple weapon and the target has the flat-footed condition, you also apply the critical specialization for the weapon you're wielding. So right off the bat, you get that critical effect as long as they're flat-footed. And I'm assuming we'll probably, if I remember correctly, we normally have only seen that in later in a class feat. When like your proficiency with your weapons goes from trained to expert or even to master, depending on the class. You're trained in intimidation and medium armor. So ruffian, you get a level up to medium armor, and you can choose strength as your key ability score. And then whenever your light armor expertise goes up, you also gain expert proficiency in medium armor. Yeah, okay. Scoundrel, fast-talking, flattery, and a silvered tongue. Might be a grifter or con artist. Your racket is also ideal for certain reputable professions. Reputable, like barrister, diplomat, or politician. When you successfully feint the target's flat-footed against melee attacks, you attempt against it at the end of your next turn. On a critical success, the target's flat-footed against all melee attacks until the end of your next turn, not just yours. You're trained in deception and diplomacy, and you can choose charisma as a key ability score. Kind of called it on the earlier last page. Then thief, nothing beats the thrill of taking something that belongs to someone else. You might be a pickpocket, cat burglar, or a safe cracker, breaking into carefully guarded vaults. You might even work as a consultant, testing clients' defenses by trying to steal something precious. I really like how Paizo has given you both, like, they've let you know that, like, hey, this rogue is probably going to be at least on the neutral side of the on the spectrum of alignments, probably more chaotic. But if you wanted to be good and potentially even lawful good, here are some ideas for your character backstory, which I really like. Let's see, when a fight breaks out, you prefer swift, lightweight weapons. You strike where it hurts. When you attack with a finesse melee weapon, you can add your dexterity modifier to damage rolls instead of your strength modifier, and you are trained in thievery. Thief seems really cool. Pretty much your classic. Then ruffian is like, if you really want, like, if you want to level up, if you want tougher armor and to be kind of more buff in your face. And then scoundrel is if you want to go that charismatic deception based rogue, which is all pretty much the things I was kind of anticipating. So here's sneak attack, and it's just straight up sneak attack. When your enemy can't properly defend itself, you take advantage to deal extra damage. If you strike a creature that has the flat-footed condition with an agile or finesse melee weapon, an agile or finesse unarmed attack, or a ranged weapon attack, you deal an extra d6 of precision damage, which, as we learned from the last class, the ranger, it just adds extra damage at the damage that that attack would normally do. And then as your rogue level increases, so it goes to 2d6 at 5th, 3d6 at 11th, and 4d6 at 17th. Much more reasonable, I think, than the 5th edition rogue sneak attack. And it's less restrictive, I think. So you probably and it's probably going to give you. We will definitely have to look at the flat-footed condition. Let's just go ahead and do that now, and I'm going to pull up the SRD on my extra. I think we already looked at this because I distinctly remember doing this. Okay, so some effects give you the flat-footed condition. Some just... So I guess I don't know when someone would be flat-footed unless you you perform an action that says this person is now flat-footed. All right. Let me know in comments if you have any ideas, or if you know, because I know you guys know. Because I don't. So I'll kind of keep an eye on that. We'll see. Flat-footed is obviously a huge part of the rogue, so we'll see if there's a lot of features, maneuvers maybe, that cause the flat-footed condition. You can roll deception or stealth for initiative. And then creatures that haven't acted... Wait, okay. So on the first round of combat... So forget what I just said, I read it wrong. On the first round of combat, if you rolled deception or stealth for initiative, creatures that haven't acted are flat-footed against you. Okay. Chat's letting me know, both River and Saytol are letting me know that being flanked makes you flat-footed. So it's actually pretty similar to 5th edition, where 5th edition rogue gets sneak attack. So the flat-footed condition is kind of almost like having advantage because of being flanked. Perfect. Thank you, chat. Most common way of to get someone being flat-footed is via flanking. There you go. I mean, surprise attack is great. Basically, if you go before creatures in the first round of combat, they're already flat-footed, so you can go ahead and get that sneak attack damage. It'd be interesting once we get to the playing the game section. Just for context, I'm probably going to blaze through skills, feats. There's a decent chance that, or you guys tell me, but I will probably skip straight from classes to playing the game chapter. And then depending on kind of what we see, if we need to go back to skills, feats, and equipment and spells, we can. Skill increases at 2nd level, and every level thereafter you gain a skill increase. You can use this to increase to become trained in a skill you're untrained in, or to become an expert in one skill in which you're already trained. And at 7th level, you can use skill increases to become a master. Wow. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of the minimum 9 skills that you are trained in right off the bat, you can level up from trained to expert in by the time you hit 7th. And then at 7th, you can kind of keep rolling to make those expert every level. Yeah, that's what I'm gathering, River, that there's... So creative diversion and feint actions, they're both linking to deception, and then there are feats that can allow for flat-footed. So that all makes sense. So the rogue really is... I'm sure we'll see that we will make them, or it's going to be a class that focuses on making an opponent flat-footed and then following up with sneak attack damage. Totally makes sense. Lots of strategy involved. Deny advantage. You aren't flat-footed to hidden, undetected, or flanking creatures of your level or lower, or creatures of your level or lower using surprise attack. However, they can still help their allies flank. Okay, very cool. And then ability boost at 5th level and every 5 levels after. All right, so we'll check out these key terms. Debilitation. Debilitations apply conditions and other negative effects to a creature. When the creature is affected by a new debilitation, any previous ones it was affected with ends. Good to know. Then flourish. You can only use one action with a flourish trait per turn. We've seen before. Weapon tricks. Oh no, okay, so this is just the kind of standard leveling up proficiency in the weapons you're trained in, and then giving you access to the critical effect. 7th level evasion. 7th level perceptions up to master. Debilitating strike, 9th level, free action. When your strike hits a flat-footed creature and deals damage, you can apply either a 10-foot status penalty to its speed or the enfeebled condition 1. Awesome. So that is almost like... I've multiple times, I think I've had a rogue in almost every 5th edition campaign I've run. And so many times that rogue character wants to be able to like say like, hey, can I like hamstring this person so they can't move or lower their speed or that kind of thing. And I like it a lot. That's cool. 11th level, your class DC goes up. Reflex save is legendary at 13th level. That's pretty great. Perception is legendary at 13th. 13th level, you get master proficiency with your weapons. When using 15th level, you can use debilitating strike both. You can apply both simultaneously. Removing one removes both. Okay. Master strike. Let's check this out. Free attack. You can incapacitate an unwary foe with a single strike. Your proficiency rank for your rogue class increases to master, and you gain the master strike free action. Trigger when you hit a flat-footed creature and deal damage. Target attempts a fortitude save at your class DC. It then becomes temporarily immune no matter no matter what it rolled on the success. Just you can only do this once per day. Critical success unaffected. On a success, they're enfeebled to 2 until the end of your next turn. Failure, paralyzed for 4 rounds. Crit failure, paralyzed for 4 rounds, knocked unconscious for 2 hours, or killed, your choice. So, wow. I mean, 19th level, if they crit fail the DC, so fail the DC by at least by 10 or more, you can just kill them. Love it. Love that. It's 19th level. It's on a critical failure, but you can just float that idea to like the players. Like, hey, if you want to play rogue, if we get to 19th level, they fail a save, you can just kill them. Pretty cool. All right. Rogue feat. First level, the nimble dodge reaction. Creature targets you with an attack and you can see them and you are not encumbered. You can use your reaction to gain a +2 circumstance bonus to AC against that triggering attack. Nice. Trap Finder. +1 bonus to perception checks to find traps, 2 AC against attacks made by traps, and to saves against traps. Even if you aren't searching, you get a check to find traps that normally require you to be searching. And you can disable traps that require a proficiency rank of Master in Thievery. And then if you have the Master proficiency in Thievery, you can disable the traps that require proficiency rank of Legendary instead, and your circumstance bonus increases to 2. Dope. So it looks like, according to chat, it looks like some bosses probably have some kind of immunity to incapacitate trait, which is fine. Like it makes sense to me that there is a loophole keeping boss level stuff from being able to get automatically killed just based on one critical fail. I don't know if this happens in Pathfinder 2nd edition, but the idea of like a legendary save in 5th edition, just giving a boss 3 legendary saves that they can just choose to not fail is probably something I would do. But yeah, just having a in general immunity to certain incapacitation, that makes sense to me. I can see like it will probably harsh on that vibe a little bit, but I don't think it's that bad. That makes sense. Like this is for taking out, the left hand, the lieutenant guy, or, high level ads almost. Not like I can get why you wouldn't want to just a boss. Oh yeah, and so yeah. Oh yeah, we just read that. So incapacitation means that if the target's a higher level than you, they get 1 success degree better on rolls. Gotcha. So if the target's higher than the character, the PC level, they can't critically fail, which makes sense. That mechanic, like that works for me. Twin feint, 2 actions, and you have to be wielding 2 melee weapons in different hands. Dazzling series of attack with both weapons, using the first attack to throw your foe off guard against a second attack at a different angle. 1 strike with each of your 2 melee weapons, both against the same target. The target's automatically flat-footed against the second attack. Apply your multiple attack penalty to the strikes normally. Great. That's super cool. I can see that being really cool to grab for other classes as well. Yeah. Your next reaction: emotion, fear, mental, and rogue traits trained in intimidation. You reduce an enemy to 0 hit points. Oh, you can. I love this. I know what this is without even reading it. After downing a foe, you menacingly remind another foe that you're coming after them next. Attempt an intimidation check with a +2 circumstance bonus to demoralize a single creature that you can see and that can see you. If you have legendary proficiency intimidation, you can use this as a free action with the same trigger. Love it. So You're next. You're grabbing if you are a Ruffian. Twin Fate would also be good for Ruffians. I mean, any of these are really good. I mean, the Rogue is just really good at what they do. It's just really specific. Brutal Beating, if you're... So here's some racket-specific stuff at second level. Whenever your strike is critical hit and deals damage, target's frightened by 1. Very cool. Distracting Feint for Scoundrels. While a creature is flat-footed by your feint, it also takes a -2 circumstance penalty to perception and reflex saves. Nice. Minor Magic. Okay. So you can dip your toe into casting a few cantrips if you want to. Nice. Mobility. Move in a way that denies your enemies the opportunity to retaliate. And when you take a stride action to move half your speed or less, that movement does not trigger reactions. You can also use mobility when climbing, flying, or swimming instead of striding if you have the corresponding movement time. Very cool. Quick draw, 1 action. You draw your weapon and attack with the same motion. You interact to draw a weapon and strike with that weapon. Great. Then for the Thief Racket, we have Unbalancing Blow. Interweaving your most powerful attacks in a graceful flow, you temporarily unbalance your foes. Whenever your strike is a critical hit and deals damage, target is flat-footed against all of your attacks until the end of your next turn. That's, again, your attacks, but still pretty good. Yeah, you're right, River. 5e does not really have a strength-based rogue, and I don't even feel like it would be that difficult to do since, I mean, 5e doesn't have class-based ability boosts, so you could, no reason why you couldn't create a subclass that gives you a couple extra weapon proficiencies and some cool class abilities. Brutal Beating is, you know, focusing on the intimidation part would be like give you a couple weapon proficiencies, give you proficiency in intimidation. I would probably make that what was it? The You're Next would be a perfect easy ability to give a strength-based 5e rogue. Yeah, would be really cool and easy to do. I feel like easy to homebrew, but I feel like if it's that easy to homebrew, Wizards probably should just make one, even if it was just like Unearthed Arcana. Side note, I might do a video on the latest Unearthed Arcana, reading through it, because I was pretty happy with it, but does kind of mean some weird stuff for 5e. So if you still play or DM D&D 5th edition and you haven't seen the latest Unearthed Arcana, I think it's worth checking out, and maybe we can discuss in a video maybe tomorrow or later this week. All right, keeping on the rogue, battle assessment for an action, a secret trait. That's fun. Okay, so the GM rolls a secret perception check for you against the deception or stealth DC of an enemy of your choice who's not concealed from you, hidden from you, or detected by you, and who is engaged in combat. GM might apply penalty for the distance between you and the enemy. Enemy is then temporarily immune for your battle assessment for 1 day. And then based on that secret roll, man, okay. This this 1 feat battle assessment tells me a lot about how Pathfinder assumes a GM is running. Because it spells out the GM is allowed to make secret perception checks for you against enemies, and it makes it pretty clear. Now, I don't know, this similar wording might be baked into, for instance, making perception check against a hidden or concealed enemy instead of 5e, where the assumption is you roll and the GM tells you out loud if you see them or not, which kind of sometimes is one of those things where you kind of have to metagame almost the fact that, like, okay, like I know that my PC knows they're there, but maybe the other PCs don't. And so just the idea of like Paizo says, yes, the GM rolls this secret from you and then gives you information based on how you did, but you don't get to know how you did. Like, you don't get to know any of the numbers or what the DC was. Like, that's pretty cool. So on a critical success, you get 2 of the following. Which weakness is highest, saving throw has the lowest modifier, an immunity the enemy has, or which enemy's resistance is highest. In the event of a tie, GM should pick 1 at random. On a success, you get 1 piece of information above. Then on a failure, GM gives you false information. So nothing happens if you fail. Crit fail, false information. GM makes it up. Love that. Great. Introducing the idea that, hey, the GM could lie to you based on your roll too. Fantastic. Dread Striker. Any creature that has a frightened condition is also flat-footed against your attacks. So this is perfect for Ruffian. Let's also check out what's happening. Go back. Scoundrel. Cool. Pathfinder to start out with. Super cool art. Lockpick in hand. Is that a magnifying glass in her coat? Super cool. Love that art. Okay. Magical Trickster. So if you're a spellcaster, when you succeed at a spell attack roll against a flat-footed foe's AC and the spell deals damage, you can add your sneak attack damage to the damage roll. Wow. So this is kind of one of the why I personally wouldn't play an Arcane Trickster Rogue, because it's kind of splitting up what you do, making you spend resources to be good at magic and not spending those resources to be better at what you're really good at, which is sneak attack damage. And Pathfinders 2 is like, why not both? It's so cool. Poison weapon. You can apply poison during your special prep or your daily prep. 1d4 poison damage. Cool. Reactive pursuit. For a reaction and an adjacent foe moves away from you, and you can reach at least 1 space adjacent to the foe with a stride action. You can stride, end your movement adjacent to the triggering enemy. Move does not trigger reactions, and you can use reactive pursuit. Okay, so basically you can just use a reaction that if someone tries to move away from you, you can just stay with them as a reaction, which is cool. Sabotage Incapacitation trait. You have a free hand, and you can damage other people's equipment. So, has to have moving parts that you could possibly sabotage, like a short bow or a short bow, but not a long sword. Attempt a thievery check against the reflex DC. Damage dealt by sabotage can't take the item below its break threshold. On a critical success, you deal double damage, or you deal damage equal to 4 times your thievery proficiency bonus. Success, you do double your thievery proficiency bonus. And on a crit fail, they are temporarily immune to your sabotage for a day. Super cool. This thief is very cool. Love the like blonde hair on a gnome with like those sideburns ? Coming thick. Scout's warning, free action. Trigger, you're about to roll perception or survival check for initiative, and you can visually or audibly warn your allies of danger, giving them a +1 bonus to initiative rolls. We saw this with the ranger too. Cool. I'm going to kind of cherry pick some. Skirmish Strike is a flourish that lets you step then strike or strike then step all in one action, which is great. Twist the Knife. If your last action was a melee strike that dealt sneak attack damage, you can deal persistent bleed damage equal to your number of sneak attack damage dice. Cool how they tie in that mechanic so that it automatically goes up with your sneak attack damage, but it's not too much. It's max going to be 4 at level 17, I think. You can delay a trap. You can blind fight. You can improve the poison on your weapon. You can kind of levels up your nimble dodge reaction from level 1. You can use a reaction to make a strike if your allies hit an enemy. You can redirect the attack to a creature of your choice adjacent to you. They do re-roll the attack roll against the new target. Sly Striker lets you, when you succeed or critically succeed at a strike that isn't flat-footed, you deal 1d6. That's interesting. So it basically just ups your normal damage, doesn't do anything for your sneak attack. I was looking to see if it increased your sneak attack damage, but it doesn't. We'll look at the 10th level because these seem specific to your racket. So precise deliberations, very different word there. Aim and gracefully deliver your debilitations. You can either add an additional 2d6 damage or make them flat-footed. You can, when you roll a failure on a sneak action, you get a success instead. You can still critically fail. Tactical debilitations. The target can't use reactions, or they can't flank or contribute to allies flanking. Vicious debilitations gains weakness 5 to your choice of bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing, or clumsy 1. Very cool. Let's check out critical debilitation. Target attempts a fortitude save against your class DC. Critical success unaffected. Success or slowed 1. Failure slowed 2. And crit failure paralyzed. All on your neck until the end of your next turn. Cool. You can leap. You can felling shot. So you can basically wing clip someone if they're flying. Spring from the shadows is a flourish. Stride up to your speed and your movement next to an enemy that you're hidden from or undetected by. You then strike as all a part of the same action. You remain hidden from them until after you strike, which I would assume give you some huge circumstance bonus. When you're concealed, not concealed, hidden. When you're hidden, if they're hidden from you, they are flat-footed. Cool. Makes sense. Defensive roll, free action, a physical attack that would reduce you to 0 hit points. You can partially evade a lethal attack and stay conscious. You still take half damage from the triggering attack. Super cool. I said I was going to be... Okay, so the 14th level seems kind of supportive, like instant opening and leave an opening. Detection, revelation, scrying effects pass right over you, your possessions, and your auras. Unless the detecting effect has a counteract level of 20 or higher. Super high. True seeing wouldn't reveal you. Scrying wouldn't find you. That's pretty cool. Cloud Step, cognitive loophole. As a reaction, trigger your turn ends, and you are currently affected by a mental effect that you gained by failing, but not critical failing, a saving throw. You can temporarily overcome it until the end of your next turn. You can ignore a single mental effect. Oh, okay. I thought that, just reading the title, I thought that was going to be way cooler. You can make a strike and potentially dispel a single spell active. Pretty cool. Powerful sneak, Trickster's Ace. All right, let's check out 20th level, call it a day. I mean, some of these higher levels I'm sure are super cool, but just doing this for time. So if you're legendary in stealth, once an hour, when you successfully stealth to hide and become hidden from all of your current foes, or use stealth to sneak and you become undetected by all of your current foes, you become invisible for 1 minute. Even if you use a hostile action, not even glitter dust, see invisibility, or similar effects can reveal you. The creatures can still use the seek action to locate you as normal. Tight. Impossible Striker, assuming you have the Sly Striker feat, nothing can prevent you from making a sneak attack, even if your opponent can see every blow coming. Instead of dealing the damage from Sly Striker, you can deal your full sneak attack damage to a target, even if the target isn't flat-footed. So kind of what I was waiting to see, but I mean, it makes sense that it's a 28 level feat. And then Reactive Distraction, if you are legendary in Deception and have the perfect distraction feats, you would be hit by an attack or targeted by an effect, and you are ready to use the perfect distraction. Okay, so perfect distraction, we're gonna have to look at it. You sneak while leaving a decoy behind. The decoy acts as the spell Mislead, though you aren't invisible, just undetected. And then once you use it, you have to spend 10 minutes to get ready. So basically, reactive distraction, you can stride, leave a decoy, blah, 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 all in one action. Super cool. All right. And River's telling me I should look at Implausible Infiltration. So let's look at that really quick. 2 actions, magical and move traits. You are legendary in acrobatics, and you already have the quick squeeze feat. You are adjacent to a floor or vertical wall. You find tiny holes or imperfections that no one else could see and try to somehow fit yourself through them, possibly moving directly through the wall or floor from one side to the other. Your movement attempt fails if the wall or floor is made of something other than wood, plaster, or stone, is thicker than 10 feet, or contains even a thin layer of metal. If you have a climb speed, you can use this ability to attempt to move through a ceiling. Gang. Thank you, River. Let's talk about this. So basically, I lost my hat. That's how much. Okay. So basically, you can walk through walls and or ceilings as long as it's made out of wood, plaster, or stone, and it's not thicker than 10 feet, and there's no metal in it. Implausible, right? I'm glad that it has the magical trait, because, like, let's not even joke. It's magic. You couldn't do it without magic. I'm not sure if I really like, as a GM, I could find myself getting very, very frustrated with that. And I like, it seems ridiculous, but the fun kind of ridiculous. Like, we're playing role-playing games. Like, let's just be implausible, and we put it in the name, gang. Implausible. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's pretty cool. Wow. All right. Thank you, River, for telling me you were right. I did need to look at that. Wow. Okay. Quickly recovering from how ridiculous Implausible Infiltration is. That's it for the rogue. Gang, there's only 2 more: sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. Yeah, 3 more classes to go through until we are done with chapter 3 and all of Pathfinder 2nd Edition's classes as they are in the original core rulebook. It's time to start thinking about what we want to do after we finish all the classes. Do we want to kind of continue going through, like, page by page and doing a video on the skill chapter, one on the feats chapter, or on equipment? Or do we want to skip to playing the game? Do you think that would be helpful to look at playing the game before jumping at everything else? But at the same time, at this point, it's like, well, should I have looked at playing the game first? Maybe. But that defeats the purpose of the video, I think. So let me know what you think. Oh, there's no Warlock. Oh, you're right. So 2 more classes. Thank you, River, Just, Sorcerer, and Wizard. You know, I don't know if I realized that there wasn't a Warlock when looking at this video, or when I was looking through the introduction and like the beginning of this class chapter, and then kind of, interesting. Okay. So yeah, 2 more. So we definitely need to start talking about what we want to do afterwards. Let me know in the comment section of this video, and any other video really, what you think we should do after finishing up the Sorcerer and Sorcerer and Wizard, potentially this week. Look for, if you're looking forward to those videos or any other videos that I might be doing, why not hit the subscribe button underneath this video so you can find out more when those videos go live. I think I am going to end up doing a video on the Unearthed Arcana for 5th edition that just came out this week, because I think it's interesting, and kind of want to talk about, you know, what it means for 5th edition, and what Wizard, we'll try to figure out what Wizards is thinking by releasing Unearthed Arcana like the one they did this week. So thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you didn't, you can leave a dislike. Hope you don't, though. Leave a comment, subscribe. You can hit me up on Twitter at ZachHall _ also. If you would like to chat or see me yelling about other things in the world, but don't hate me for it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you next time when we look at the Sorcerer. Bye.